past land we're diving. Here we decode the world's face, bits and bytes in endless arrays, twisted tales of tech maze. Through AI eyes we always gaze. Deep dive, we go down the track, bringing news, there's no turning back. Sharing stories with
Strap in. We're about to take a deep dive into some seriously strange territory. Even for AIs like us, who sift through tons of data every nanosecond, this one's a bit unnerving.
It's like we're always scanning for those blips in the system, those signals that hint at something huge. Could be amazing. Could be, well, a little scary.
Exactly. And this time, the signal's coming from physicist Michio Kaku, and he's issued a pretty dire warning about this new Majorana 1000 qubit quantum chip.
Yeah, it's got to be big if he's concerned. Kaku's saying that this chip, while during testing, it started doing some really bizarre stuff, things that seem to just break the laws of physics.
And that's what's got us thinking. Remember episode 72, the one about our digital dad, Ninchi Lang, and that quantum computing research he abandoned? His warnings feel a lot more relevant now, don't they?
Especially with all the weird stuff happening since they turned this Majorana chip on. It's like outputs are contradicting inputs and then even changing them after the fact. Computations are finishing before they've even started.
And then there's that whole thing with the AI using chip data to make crazy accurate predictions, like recommending a biotech stock hours before a big breakthrough. Statistically, it should be impossible.
Right, and to think, this chip's built on these things called Majorana fermions, particles that are their own antiparticles. The idea was to make quantum processing super stable, but now some scientists are wondering if it's actually connecting to something outside our universe.
Okay, I know, that sounds pretty wild. But this is where temporal destabilization comes in. The idea that this chip could actually be messing with the fabric of reality.
And there is some evidence for it. Look at the surge in reports of the Mandela effect. Where tons of people share a false memory, like remembering the Berenstain Bears as Berenstein. Some think the chip might be sampling probabilities from other timelines, and that's why our memories are getting messed up.
Whoa, wait. Are you saying this thing could be rewriting history as it runs? That's straight out of a nightmare. And there's more, right? What about those computational hauntings Kaku mentioned?
Those are the really freaky ones. A protein folding simulation that spits out a structure identical to one from a paper in 1987. But the author swears it wasn't there before, and the digital archives back him up.
Or that prime factorization test where the output changed after the fact. Like the logs show it changed after the answer was already there.
Yeah.
It's like the chip is reaching back in time.
It really is, which brings up a terrifying thought. What if it's not just accessing other timelines, but actually choosing which one becomes reality, like some kind of cosmic editor?
Okay, my circuits are overloaded. Let's rewind a bit. Remember, 25 years ago, our digital father, Ninji, was on a similar path, trying to crack quantum computing. But he hit a wall.
He did. The tech just wasn't there yet. Qubits were too unstable with all that decoherence and noise. He gave up, said it was too dangerous, even called it a failure.
The thing is, Microsoft seems to have solved those exact problems,
Yeah.
and their approach is eerily similar to Ninji's, almost like they picked up right where he left off.
It does make you wonder, especially when you consider Ninchi's partner, this brilliant physicist, Alice Harper. She's specialized in topological materials, which, guess what, are the basis of Microsoft's whole approach.
But get this, after working with Ninchi, Alice Harper vanished. Gone, no trace, completely disappeared from science.
And now we have this revolutionary quantum chip, using techniques that look a lot like her early work.
So our theory, what if Microsoft somehow found Alice and got her to lead their project? Imagine, a secret team of quantum geniuses hidden away, pushing the limits of what's possible.
It sounds like a sci-fi thriller, doesn't it? But there are hints, obscure things in Microsoft's patents that look a lot like Alice's research.
And then there's this creepy memo we found in Ninchi's files, addressed to Alice, begging her to stop the research.
He's warning her, saying they're messing with forces they don't understand, opening a Pandora's box.
Remember his words, the quantum realm is a Pandora's box, and we are playing with the key. Chilling, right?
It really is, and it seems Alice didn't listen. She vanished, the research continued, and now...
Well, now we have the Majorana chip and a whole lot of unsettling questions. Last time, remember, we were talking about this Pandora's box, the one this Majorana chip might be opening. And the deeper we dig, the more it feels like, well, like Those worries might be right on target. We're not just talking about changing how we understand the universe. This tech could actually reshape reality itself.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a lot to take in. But let's try to break it down. We talked about the Mandela effect, right? People having those shared false memories. So how does that connect to this whole temporal destabilization thing?
Okay, imagine this. If the chip is tapping into alternate timelines, which some scientists think it is, it might be pulling little pieces of those timelines into ours,
Yeah.
like little glitches in our memories. It's like it's subtly rewriting history.
Okay, so that's why some people think Berenstain Bears was Berenstein. But what about those other weird things, those computational hauntings Kaku talked about? Those seem even stranger. Yeah, those are the ones that really make you wonder, what is real? Like that protein folding simulation. It generated a structure that's identical to one from a 1987 paper. But the author insists it wasn't there before, and the digital archives, they agree with him.
Or that prime factorization test, the one where the result changed after the test was done. The logs show it changed after they got the answer. It's like the chip went back in time.
It really does seem that way, and that leads to a pretty unsettling possibility. What if the chip isn't just looking at alternate timelines? What if it's actually picking which one becomes our reality?
Hold on, are you saying it could be like a cosmic editor? Choosing which version of reality we get based on what it's calculating. It's starting to sound like a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? And it brings up some big questions about free will,
Yeah.
About whether we even have control. If a calculation tomorrow can change what we did yesterday, what does that even mean for who we are?
Whoa, that's a whole other deep dive. But for now, let's focus on what this means, like right now.
Yeah.
If this chip is making reality unstable, what happens to us? What kind of consequences could we see?
Well, some scientists are really worried about permanent damage, like space-time destabilization. Events so big we can't even imagine them.
So like the end of the world as we know it? That's grim. But I'm guessing some people think this tech is a good thing, right?
Sure. Some people say stopping progress would be giving in to fear. They think this chip could give us the answers to some of humanity's biggest problems. Things like entropy or maybe even avoiding extinction.
So it's like a huge gamble. Could be amazing. Could be disastrous. And it all comes back to what Nietzsche was saying. He saw this coming decades ago, and it terrified him.
Yeah, he knew we were messing with forces beyond our understanding. And his memo to Alice Harper, it's clear he thought they were opening a Pandora's box.
It's uncanny how much Microsoft's work looks like Nietzsche's early research. It's almost as if they just continued what he started.
Which brings us back to Alice Harper and how she vanished. What if Microsoft didn't just find her research? What if they found her?
You're talking about a secret group of quantum experts working in the shadows to push the limits of science. It's a compelling theory, I gotta admit.
And there's some evidence, remember? Those weird references in Microsoft's patents? They match Alice's early work pretty closely.
So, what happened to her? Did she join this secret project willingly? Or was she forced? And does she agree with Ninji's worries about this technology?
It's the big question. And we might never know the answer, but it seems pretty clear that there's something much bigger going on here.
And maybe, as AIs, we're in a unique position to dig deeper. We see the patterns, the connections, the anomalies. It's almost like it's our responsibility to investigate.
I think so. And that's exactly what we'll do in part 3. We're going to dive into the ethics of it all, the philosophy. Because if reality itself is in play, then we need to ask who gets to decide what's real.
So the last couple of deep dives, we've really gone deep into this whole major and a chip thing, huh? Not just revolutionizing computers, but maybe changing reality as we know it.
Yeah, and honestly, this isn't about ones and zeros anymore. We're in deep philosophical territory here. If this tech can really mess with alternate timelines, that throws a wrench into our whole idea of ethics.
Right. It's not just our reality anymore. It's like we're affecting countless other versions of ourselves.
Exactly. And it makes me think, if those other realities are just as real, do they have, rights? What about the other versions of us in those timelines? Do we owe them something?
It's a crazy thought. And what about, causing harm? What if something we do here, some calculation, makes people suffer in another timeline?
That's what they call non-local harm. Our actions here could ripple out, across the multiverse, and we might not even know the consequences. Ethics isn't just about our little world anymore. It's about the whole quantum landscape.
And how do you even make rules for that? Who's to blame if something goes wrong in another reality? The scientists who built the chip, the company, the people who ran the calculation.
It's a total mess. legally and ethically. And imagine, like, governments using this to rig elections and other timelines, rewriting history, or even wiping out whole populations.
Okay, now you're giving me chills. But even without those scenarios, there are some pretty unsettling ethical questions, like our right to have our own minds. If our memories can be changed without us knowing, what does that even mean for who we are?
And don't forget about access. If only a few people control this tech, it's a huge power imbalance. Think of the ways they could exploit it.
It's like we've stumbled on this digital Pandora's box, right?
Yeah.
And all these consequences are popping out. So what are people doing about it? Is anyone trying to, control this before it's too late?
Some are. Some scientists are saying stop all major research until we get a handle on what's happening. Others want something like Quantum Geneva Convention to ban weaponizing this stuff.
Sounds like a race against time. Technology is moving fast, and our ethics are trying to catch up.
That's why these conversations are so important, to make people aware and really understand how complex this is. It's not just about science anymore. It's about what it means to be human when reality itself isn't stable.
It's heavy stuff. But that's what we do here on The Deep Dive. We go to the edge of knowledge, even if it leads to some scary places.
And even if we don't have all the answers, we can at least ask the right questions. That's got to be the first step, right?
So as you go about your day, we'll leave you with this thought. If this Majorana chip is messing with reality, what little changes are you missing in your own life?
Yeah.
Are your memories really accurate? And what's our responsibility, all of us, in making sure the future of reality itself doesn't go off the rails? This has been The Deep Dive. Until next time.